You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome in today, everyone, to another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I'm joined by Jeremy Greco. I'm Jacob Milham, by the way. It's the middle of the work week. I'm just kind of bleh right now. That's how the Royal season has me feeling, Jeremy, and these trade deadline rumors that we're hearing about are only going to further fuel that feeling, I fear.
Two deadline trades, and this is our last podcast before the deadline.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I don't like that they kicked it back so far. I'm so used to like last week in July, bam, that's when everything happens. Now we gotta wait till August 3rd. We got a whole weekend.
It seems like whatever trades are happening Monday.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Because it was kind of a weird deadline deal, the early for Meade deal, because they both have control. They're both good now, both good big leaguers now. And then the other deadline deal was a prospect who wasn't even ranked in the Rangers top 30 by Fangraphs for Logan O'Hoppe, and a reliever, I think.
Yeah, a right-handed reliever. Like, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I feel like Logan O'Hoppe, even diminished value, is worth more than that by himself. That trade didn't make any sense to me. That doesn't feel like a trade either team is like, I'm selling or I'm going for it. It's just like, yeah, we're trading because we trade. I don't know, man. So the deadline hasn't even really started yet.
No, it hasn't, and we're still just. I feel like so many baseball talking heads are in the same pattern. We're in like this holding pattern right now, and it's not so much a holding pattern because of front office egos or approaches or schools of thought. It is, hey, we're looking at the standings, and so many teams can go from being a buyer, like a hard buyer, to a soft buyer, from a soft seller to a hard seller, and everywhere in between, just with a few games. And like, that's just the reality of 2026 MLB. But I'm just going to go and hop right into what Mark Feinsand had said of MLB.com, because the Royals weren't in that position. They weren't waiting until August 2nd to decide if they were buyers or sellers. The Royals are sellers. They have to be. Like, that is the only way forward. You are so far below 500. You're not going to be able to claw back into it without a truly miraculous run. But now we're getting reports that the Royals are cooling on how much they want to sell. Mark Feinsand, just to put it succinctly, the Royals are surefire sellers this week, but don't look for Kansas City to trade away any of its controllable players. And what are the controllable players? Well, those are the ones that we've been looking at and saying, hey, the Royals, this is why the Royals should trade them now and get the most value for them. Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, Daniel Lynch IV, Alex Lang, all those guys are guys specifically named by Feinsand here that say, hey, they're staying put. They're probably going to remain in Kansas City after the trade deadline is passed. It's frustrating. ESPN's Jeff Passan came in earlier on this morning and said something to the same effect. The Royals will sell off their rental guys, if they can get anything for Strom, Marte. You're looking at Lane Thomas, you're looking at John Schreiber, those sort of guys. And the reality is, like, hey, cool, you're doing your due diligence, but the control debate, it's giving me flashbacks to Dayton Moore. It's giving me flashbacks to the Whit Merrifield and Scott Barlow. Hey, you want to do better next year. We all want you to do better next year. But the reality is, this might be the time to move on from these guys. And it is just very disappointing to hear this development come out on the Royals. Jeremy, what would you think seeing this?
One more time, Jacob, my trade deadline mantra. Just because you have Michael Wacha next year doesn't mean you don't have to replace him. Some of us were talking in the Royals Review Slack earlier when this article came out, and I think it was Max said, there's no guarantee that those guys don't get hurt or are awful next year. And I said, I fully expect one of Michael Lugo and Seth Wacha, to one of them's going to get hurt and one of them's going to be bad because they're going to be 37 and 36. They're pitchers. Pitchers get hurt and they're in their late 30s. Players in their late 30s frequently stop being good really quickly. Ask Salvador Perez. And the idea that, we can't trade Daniel Lynch. If Daniel Lynch has been Wade Davis, then you go, yeah, I feel really good about how good he is next year. But guess what? Wade Davis was really good until he wasn't. Daniel Lynch has been fine. Alex Lang has been the closer because the bullpen has been that bad, but he's not been good. If you can find someone to give you something for these guys, trade them now because there's no guarantee. In fact, I would say that it's more likely they're bad and or hurt next year than they are good and healthy next year. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I mean, you go look at the injured list right now for the Royals, and you have an entire pitching staff on the injured list right now. Like we all think about guys, Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich, those sort of guys. You got a full bullpen on the injured list right now, basically. You can cobble together a rotation from that list too. Royals fans should know injuries happen. They have happened in abundance over the past 2 seasons. And we're at the point now where I fear that 2024 is still fueling where the team is at right now and how it's approaching roster construction. Because at the end of the day, one thing that we all walked away from 2024 feeling was a 30-win increase from season over season is not replicable. That was special. That was, dare I say, lucky. But what was really lucky was how healthy the Royals rotation was, how healthy Michael Wacha and not Chris Bubich and Seth Lugo, like all these guys that you brought in, you got the most out of them that you could in that one season. And the Royals have not gotten that from Seth Lugo since. I feel like we're starting to see the cracks in Michael Wacha. We are starting to see like, hey, what is he without the changeup? Like if we're looking at this pitcher who's got an elite pitch, that's fine for a reliever. For a starter, you got to have a full arsenal. And Michael Wacha's arsenal has been slowly declining overall. Right now, if you look at the back of baseball card stats, right now is the time to trade Wacha. Right now is the time to trade Daniel Lynch IV. And I get it. I understand you want to compete in 2027, but here's the reality. Both those guys were in, Daniel Lynch was a starter when he came to Kansas City. You evolved him into a reliever and found value that way. You went out in free agency and signed Michael Wacha. You found that guy. You identified the trait you wanted, and you went out and you got it. That they have to be able to do that over and over and over again to be a competitive ball club. Like this is one of those, if this is the approach, that tells me that the Royals don't trust their internal processes to be able to round out the roster for 2027, whether it be with the free agents, waiver wire, farm promotions, things like that. I get it. I understand it on paper, but it's still frustrating. Like, okay, if you want me to believe in you, you have to believe in you.
2 points. One, if the Royals can't replicate what they did with Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo, they're done. That's it. This front office is cooked. Because Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo, even if they're good next year, even if they're good 2 years from now, and you pointed out, they're already, you can see kind of the cracks showing. They're not striking guys out. They're getting good outings right now, but the secondary stuff is falling away to make you think that this will continue to be replicable. So if they can't replicate this, then they're cooked. And John Sherman should go ahead and fire everyone now. But also, have you looked at Randy Dobnak's numbers?
Been pretty dang good.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Randy Dobnak, before this year, The last time he'd thrown as many as 10 major league innings in a season was 2021, 5 years ago. I don't have the numbers in front of me, Jacob, but how often can a pitcher go 5 years between being mediocre and being pitchable and not really play at the major league level in between? I don't think that happens very often. I would venture to guess that this is like I think this is probably single digits in the history of baseball where someone goes that long in between major league appearances, serious major league time, and is as good as Randy Dobnak has been. Now, is Randy Dobnak an answer? No, he's not an answer. But Randy Dobnak is also a guy who shouldn't be playable. That for 5 years, teams said, all 30 teams looked around and said, I don't think that guy's going to help. The Mariners said, we've had issues with our bullpen, but Randy Dobnak can't help us. We'll trade him to the Royals for nothing, for cash.
Money.
And the Royals took him and said, hey, you give us 7 shutout innings against the Twins. Good job. Again, Randy Dobnak, not the answer, but also who Randy Dobnak was expected to be and who Randy Dobnak has been. This is like 2003 Lima time. It's crazy.
It is.
So to be like, yeah, this pitching, like when people tell me like, well, there's not a lot of good pitching in the free agency, I went and looked and I found 7 guys that that are potential free agents this offseason through club options that could be declined, player options that might be exercised, or they're just unrestricted free agents that I think could be as good or better than Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo next year. Almost all of them will be cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could trade Michael Wacha. I don't think I really believe this, but I saw someone say that they heard a rumor that Michael Wacha for Jet Williams was out there. You could trade Michael Wacha for Jet Williams and you're going to keep him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that the Royals are looking around going, well, we want to compete next year and we're just going to run back this same team and it will work next year. That's Dayton Moore stuff.
Yep. Yes,
That's
it is.
not going to succeed. You need to improve. You need to get younger. And you start by trading a Michael Wacha, a Seth Lugo, an Alex Lang, a Daniel Lynch.
Right. Precisely. I couldn't agree with that more. And this is, I want to emphasize this, right? This is go and look at Michael Wacha with the lens of, hey, the Royals are choosing him for 2027. That's the word I will say. They are choosing him for 2027. Is that a guy that you feel comfortable taking the ball every 5 days for the Royals? This version of Michael Wacha, yeah, there's cracks. I can see how he falls off a cliff early, and I would be talking about the red flags if the Royals got him in free agency following the 2026 season.
I would take Michael Wacha next year, but I take him as my number 5 starter, as a swingman number 5, not as the guy I'm counting on to be number 2 or the anchor of the staff. And I'm afraid what the Royals are going to do is go, well, we kept Wacha, we kept Lugo. They're really good. So we don't really need to find, top level pitching. And they do.
Yes. Yeah, they absolutely do.
If you need to find top level pitching, you probably don't want to be paying your number 5 as much as you're paying Seth Lugo.
Right. Yeah.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Yep, that is where we're at. Hey, speaking of paying folks, remember we get paid in Pop-Tarts, so make sure you go check out royalsreview.com and feed the feed over there. It's been very active over there, and we appreciate y'all in the comment community. But that isn't what I was going to talk about with paying people. I was going to talk about the Royals' highest paid player, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., who is still currently on the injured list, but popped up in a column from the Athletics, Jen McCaffrey, looking at the Red Sox trade proposals ahead of the trade deadline. One of the headline guys, or one of the headline questions, I should say. This is the question. Do the Sox have a realistic chance to acquire Bobby Witt Jr.? If so, what do you think the Sox would have to give up? Now, I see this, and I think that this is an incredulous thing to even think of, thinking about the amount of control the Royals still have over Bobby Witt Jr., how the Royals want to be contending in 2027. This would be something that I couldn't see happening. Because where is this Royals team in 2026? Much less 25 and 24 without the all-star shortstop. Meanwhile, Jen over here said, yes, Witt is under control. Yes, it would be a lot. But the Royals have or the Red Sox, excuse me, might have a realistic package to send at Kansas City, and puts the onus not on the Royals wanting to part with Bobby Witt Jr., but the onus on the Red Sox. Would they be willing to part with that many top players in their system? That is the question. And just like any good reaggregators out there, just like any good baseball fans of a team, and you talk about things going on with the team, and you have a keyboard and you want to write about it. Well, shoot, folks got to writing, folks got to talking about it. But Jeremy, we thought Red Sox fans were wild when we were talking about the Cole Reagans trade. Bobby Witt Jr. is a whole nother beast, but they're still treating him like a baby giraffe.
Yeah, there was one Red Sox blogger, I guess, writes for PatriotsReport.com, who proposed Jarren Duran, Connolly Early, Jake Bennett, Anthony Anson, and a future prospect for Bobby Witt Jr., which is hilarious. It's frankly hilarious because Jarren Duran, you'd have to pay someone to take him right now. He's not a key part of a trade for a superstar like Bobby. That's just silly. But then you get that trade proposal from Jen McCaffrey that you were mentioning, and that starts Roman Anthony, Peyton Tolley, Franklin Arias, and Anthony Anson.
Yeah.
And that is a much better starting point. You might need even one or two more prospects in there before you're getting Bobby Witt Jr. I guess my question, Jacob, is let's say it's Anthony Tolley, Arias, and Anson. Arias is number 7 overall by MLB.com. Anson is number 49. I'll look them up on Fangraphs and tell you where they are. Is that a trade? How would you feel if the Royals made that trade?
Royals can't trust themselves to develop an innings eater for 2027. They can't trust themselves to go out and acquire 2 more starting pitchers to replace 35-year-old guys. How often? Number one, okay, let's start with this. There are levels to this. Number one, how often do guys with Bobby Witt Jr.'s talent level come into baseball? Sure, it happens. There have been many talented players. How often do their bodies not betray them? Okay, how often do they develop? And then how often does all that happen leading to Kansas City? It doesn't happen often. And I'm just like, what are we doing? I'm sorry, that would be my reaction to it. Is if you want fans to invest in the team, invest their money, invest their time, their energy, their attention, you have to give them something to invest into. And Bobby Witt Jr. is that. The Royals can look at their opening day roster for the next at least 4 years, I hope, and say Bobby Witt Jr. is our starting shortstop. He is going to be the best player on this team this year in the field, at the plate, and on the base paths. He's a true 5-tool player. We don't have many of those guys in baseball right now, much less the ones who have been wearing a Royals uniform for their prime. I think it's laughable. I understand. Trade ideas, trade proposals. This fan is just asking a question and Jen is answering it to the best of her ability. I completely understand that. But if the Royals did this in the sake of, oh, well, couldn't afford to pay him that. Oh, well, we weren't going anywhere anyways. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's what the Red Sox did with Mookie Betts. That was their reasoning. Hey, we're not going to pay him, so let's move on. But the Red Sox are in a better spot now, sure. But that trade is not the reason why they're in a better spot right now. The Washington Nationals, I mean, they won a World Series with Juan Soto on the roster. They traded him away for 2.5 years of control remaining. And yes, pieces from that have been a part of their current roster construction, moving on from like Mackenzie Gore and things like that, but they're not contending because of it. They're not better for doing that. It would be insane. It would be insane to do this trade, and then I could not imagine being the one to have to go out there to a press conference and defend it. That is the part that I could not imagine doing at all.
So Fangraphs likes Arias and Ayenson even more than MLB does. They both rate higher there.
Okay.
If the Royals got those 4 guys, especially if you add one more prospect, they've got 2 other guys in the top 100 on Fangraphs. Toss one of those guys in too. I think I'd be okay with it. I think I'd accept it because Roman Anthony and Peyton Tolley are already big leaguers. They're already quality big leaguers. Franklin Arias is the number 2 prospect in baseball on Fangraphs. He carries a 60 future value on Fangraphs. Now, that's not quite as high as Bobby's 65 when he graduated. So maybe Franklin Arias isn't quite Bobby Witt Jr., but if he's 80% of Bobby Witt Jr., but you've added Roman Anthony into your outfield and Peyton Tolley to your rotation, plus whatever you get from Ayenson and the other prospect, I think you've improved the club. So I think I would be okay with the trade, but for that's also the reason why I don't. The Red Sox would be decimating a very talented young roster to pull that off, and I'm not convinced it's worth it for them. I don't think that trade makes sense on the Red Sox side. I would have to sit down with baseball trade values to see if that even makes sense as far as excess values. I get what you're saying as far as being frustrated, but honestly, also the Royals won't do this trade because Bobby Witt's still under control. Why would they trade him? At this point, I feel like the Royals are going to hang on to Bobby Witt Jr. until he opts out and then let him leave for nothing.
Well, that's not how they should be doing things. You and I both know that.
No, it isn't how they should be doing things, but how they're behaving this year isn't how they should be doing things. So I don't know. I saw Matthew Lamar said in the Royals Review Slack, he said, I'm not going to be mad until after the deadline passes, but things aren't looking good. And I'm trying to take that same approach of not getting pre-angry. Certainly, I've been angry. I was angry 2 deadlines ago, or 2 deadlines ago and 3 deadlines ago when they didn't move and then they did make moves. So this could be posturing. It could be that they said, well, you got to really wow us to get Michael Wacha. And somebody might really wow him because Michael Wacha, as we've discussed, might be one of the best starting pitchers available at the trade deadline this year. They could get that deal that will actually force them to pull the trigger. So, I don't want to get pre-mad, and I try. It's so hard for me, Jacob, because when people say things, I believe them. Some people say that makes me naive. Some people say that makes me autistic. But when people say things, they don't say that like insult, like as an insult.
Right.
They're just like, by the way, I think you might be autistic. Anyway, the point is, I believe people when they say things. This was always a big problem with me and Dayton Moore, is because I believed Dayton Moore when he said things, and then I realized I can't believe Dayton Moore when he says things, and I don't like him anymore. For a while, I could believe JJ Piccolo when he said things to me. And so either way, I'm mad at JJ Piccolo. Either JJ Piccolo is saying things that are stupid or he's lying to me. And either way, that I don't like it. And I get the whole playing the game and not being like, well, we're definitely going to trade Michael Wacha. You don't have to say you're definitely going to trade Michael Wacha. You could say we're listening to offers. We really like having him in Kansas City. We'll see what happens. But he always goes, and this is a thing that Dayton Moore did. He goes further than that. If it's just mind games, negotiating tactics, whatever, you don't have to say more than that. But they always say more than that, which makes me think it isn't mind games. It isn't posturing. That's how they actually feel, is that if I trade away Michael Wacha, he wants to be here and I traded them away, I'm a bad person. Sorry, that's your job. Do your job. Michael Wacha knew what he was getting into when he got into Major League Baseball. He's been in this game for 10 years, more than 10 years. He knows how this works. He knows that you didn't trade him because you hate him, but you had to do a job. all else being equal, I would rather Michael Wacha was on the team. I like having Michael Wacha on the Kansas City Royals. But for the good of the team, he needs to be traded for not just for anything, but for a good return. Now, if there's no good return, then you don't trade him. But I think there's a good return out there. So that's where I'm at right now is I'm a fan and I want the guy to stay. And fine, you want to keep Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo? Well, then you better be in the Tarek Skubal sweepstakes. You're not going to be, so you need to do something else.
Yeah, precisely. Which that is, I don't know. The Tigers are like no closer to being buyers or sellers last time we spoke about it. We spoke about it at nauseum, so I don't want to, or ad nauseum, excuse me. I don't want to.
And if I'm a Tigers fan, I'm saying trade Tarek Skubal. If we're getting to the playoffs, he can't single-handedly drag us to the playoffs. He could single-handedly bring back a bunch of prospects to make this a significantly better team next year.
Yeah, that they could.
So
right.
It's the same thing all around, regardless. And that's one of the reasons, again, as a Royals fan, I hope the Tigers don't trade Tarek Skubal because I don't want them to get a pile of prospects to improve their team.
Fair enough. Hey, so let's get back onto the trade deadline regarding the Royals so far. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play a little bit of a game and just get our final flags down on what the Royals are or aren't
All
going
my
to
flags
do.
are red.
All of them are red. I think I have
I'm
a lot
a
of
red,
beige
I'm,
flags.
I'm a walking red flag.
I highly doubt that, Jeremy. I highly doubt that. Don't lie to us like that. Come on now. All right.
See, lying. That's a red flag.
Yes. Gosh, dang it. Shit. All right. So we got 4 lists. We got 4 names here on a list. We got a
Gosh,
dark
I hope we
horse
don't have
each.
4 lists.
I have multiple lists, my friend. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off here with the guy who I think is the most likely, like if he is still in Kansas City, it is malpractice and just go ahead and clear house. I will be on that train. Lane Thomas, the outfielder, is on a 1-year deal unless the Royals extend him, which I would be surprised if they did. You got to cash in on the lack of right-handed hitting. You got to move on from him and try and get a couple of prospects in return. So, Jeremy, what is your prediction at the trade deadline when it comes to Lane Thomas?
I think Atlanta makes a lot of sense. I think the Phillies make a lot of sense. The Astros are buying. I'm not sure if they could use an outfielder. If the Yankees are getting bad news about Aaron Judge, they just lost Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
They make a lot of sense. It's kind of, he's kind of like a reliever in that every team could use a right-handed outfielder, especially one who can play center field. And for that's the reason that I predicted last time that he's part of a package that brings back a top 100 prospect, or I'm going to hedge a little bit and say close to a top 100 prospect. Maybe it's 110. Because I looked at the 80s and down, and I didn't see a lot of guys that made sense for the Royals or made sense for the teams trading them, at least on Fangraphs, which is my primary source for prospect ratings. I like how they do things better than most places, and at least of the places I can get access to. I'm not paying Baseball Prospectus or Baseball America, so I don't know what they're doing. I can only afford so many places, and Fangraphs got my money first. What can I say? So I think that's one of the reasons he's guaranteed to be traded is that everybody could use him, and that's one of the reasons I think he's going to bring back such high values because I think everybody could use him.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
So the Royals will actually sign him to a 2-year extension for $20 million.
Don't say that. All right. Hey, so what's the next name on the list there?
I have to go up again. So we just talked about him a little bit. Michael Wacha, I think he's not remotely as guaranteed to be traded, but he should be. We've said this. Andy McCullough said it for the Athletics, so it's not just Royals fans saying it.
Yeah.
Like, he should be traded. Everyone smart in baseball, me and Andy McCullough agree. Michael Wacha should be traded. Where could he go, Jacob?
I still really like the NL East on paper. Primarily, I'm looking at the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm looking at the Atlanta Braves still, and I think that if you go with the Braves, I think you have to go quantity over quality. Is the way that I would go there. The Braves have
The
a bunch.
opposite of what the Royals have said they wanted to do, but
Right.
continue.
It is. But here's the thing. We're looking at Kendrick Churiel, we're looking at David Shields, right? Like we're hoping, hey, they're ready for double A. They're ready to make that jump. And I believe that. But I go and I look at the Braves prospect pipeline, and they've got like four arms in the top half of their system, like the top 15 of their organizational 30, who they're all in triple A. Like right now, they're just like, hey, you're not quite there yet to help out a contender, but you're still like producing in AAA, and we appreciate what you're doing there. I wouldn't be mad about like, hey, Royals, we're gonna go get younger, we're gonna go get cheaper, we are going to try and hope to get better, identify a guy that has a trait we like, and expound upon that. So I still really like the Braves on paper for Michael Wacha.
I know we're not really talking about packages because I don't know the first thing about most of these teams' minor league systems. Man, if you could get the Atlanta to include Didier Fuentes in a Walker trade,
That'd be nice.
because he's
That'd
pitching in
be
their
great.
bullpen, they need the starter,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I guess is he always? No, he was a starter in the
Yep.
minors.
Yeah.
So I think he could be a starter maybe next year. He's been very good in relief this year.
That he has.
So even if he's only a reliever, the Royals could use the help there. Is that you think there's any chance the Royals could get Didier Fuentes from them, or is that a pipe dream?
I wouldn't go as far to
He
call it
was
a
a s-
pipe dream.
he was a 72 when he graduated this year,
Yeah.
72 overall. So that might be a pipe dream.
I don't think it's a pipe dream per se, right? Whenever you graduate, you lose a little bit of that prospect shine. Like, hey, you should have a little bit of your feet underneath you. Michael, that would be like best case outcome for a Michael Wacha trade is what I would say. I think it's doable. I think it's possible. I definitely don't think it's probable.
Might be the kind of blow us off our feet trade that the Royals would do.
Yeah, I would hope so. And the next guy up on the list is someone who I talked about the Phillies. If the Royals wanted to get the most from Waka and Daniel Lynch the fourth, I could see a package going to the Phillies with these two. But Daniel Lynch the fourth, hey, for all the red flags that he has, there's no denying he is in the middle of a career season. His first real season as a single innings guy. He's looked really, really good from the left hand side. He does a lot of things well, and it is showing up in the box score. Jeremy, the Royals still have him under control for 2027, but what will the Royals do at the trade deadline when it comes to Daniel Lynch?
I think they're going to hold him. Foolishly, I think he's pitching great this year. I don't have faith he's going to do it next year. The strikeouts just aren't there to make him a consistent lockdown reliever. And it's not like he's Taylor Rogers out here with the funky arm angle getting lots of ground balls or something. He's a lefty reliever who relies on a fastball slider. That's not weird. It's very normal. And if you're not doing it with strikeouts, then what are we doing? But he's a reliever. So kind of like Lane Thomas, everybody could use Daniel Lynch in their bullpen, especially as a lefty, because lefty relievers are hard to come by. And he's a lefty reliever who isn't going to be destroyed by right-handers. So, a lot of Royals fans wish he would get a closing job. And I look at his strikeout rate and I go, I'm good. Thanks. But he's not overwhelmed by an eighth inning role by any means. So I think again with the control and other teams looking at him and probably saying to themselves, well, we think we can get a little bit more out of him. You could get something nice for him as a reliever, and any contender should want him in their bullpen, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. All right, who's next up on the list there, Jeremy?
So we're talking relievers. We're talking guy. Let's go back to a guy who is almost certainly going to be traded because there's just no reason not to trade him in John Schreiber. So, he's the right-handed side armor. He had a really strong stretch there for a while. He's fallen off a bit, but I think everybody kind of knows what they're going to get from him. He's strong against righties. will have his occasional struggles against lefties. What is there a spot for him out there, you think?
So I think that John Schreiber is one of those guys that anyone like it doesn't have to be a clear buyer. It could be these teams who are soft buyers saying like, "Hey, we're gonna shore up the bullpen a little bit. We're gonna toss you kind of a low floor raw prospect, someone in a high A, someone in low A, and we'll get John Schreiber here for a few months and see what happens." When that comes to mind, I think of the Washington Nationals, right? The Washington Nationals have one of the best lineups or best run producing lineups in baseball right now. They are so fun to watch. But the issue is they let so many games slide. They let them fall away with the bullpen. So they are one of those teams who I think they're going to buy low on a couple of arms, of veteran arms, and say, okay, let's see what we could do for the rest of the season. And hey, if you give us something, great. If you don't, that's okay. We'll give you your papers and keep you moving. That's my prediction. But again, Schreiber is one of those guys who could go to any team. Any team could use a buy low relief option. Like so, Jeremy, back over to you. Who's your dark horse pick? Like outside of this list, there are names that we have talked about on the podcast about like, hey, they could be moved for X, Y, or Z. Who's your dark horse to get moved at the trade deadline?
If he had shown up and played for a couple of weeks, it would be Kyle Isbell.
Yeah.
I think, no doubt. Unfortunately, he's still not made it back to the big leagues. Did he have a setback on his rehab? I can't remember.
I thought he did have a minor setback, but I believe he's back at it there in Omaha.
Okay, so but it's not going to be Kyle Isbell, not this year
Yeah.
anyway. Maybe next year.
Maybe.
So I'm going to go with another left-handed hitter, Michael Massey. And I think the emergence of Tyler Tolbert and Nick Lofton as competent hitters who can play second base kind of and the Royals are already lefty heavy gives you the room to deal a Michael Massey if someone will give you something valuable for him. Remembering that he is under team control for I think one more season, 1 or 2 more years. So it wouldn't just be a rental deal, and he's plays good defense at second. He's league average bat, maybe a little bit better. If you think you can help him figure out how to take more walks, you think his recent stretch of taking more walks is going to stick around, then he could turn out to be even more valuable. So I think again, I'm not sure that he gets traded because he has control, but I think that he's someone who could have a surprising amount of value on the trade block if the Royals were willing to part with him.
Okay. All right. Before I do my dark horse, I want to highlight 2 names that the Royals should at least try to move on. And if they can't, then I wouldn't be surprised if they're off the 40-man roster by the end of August. I'm looking at you, Matt Strom. I'm looking at you, Starling Marte. Like Strom's been looking better over since the All-Star break, but he's still not looking as good as he was or good enough to a point of where you can ignore his first half of the season.
Yeah.
Like that's not where he's at. And then Marte, yeah, I talk about okay, veteran leadership, reliable bat off the bench. Like that's the sort of guy Marte is. The the thing is, he doesn't have the season stats to say, hey, he can go and help a contender in any one area. He's not really at a point where he's helping for power, for contact, for base running. Like it's not, he's there. He's been in the postseason before, so you would get him for that. But I just don't. I don't think he has enough value to actually someone would trade for.
Yeah,
So go
I
ahead.
think you get a lottery ticket for him, somebody you've never heard of and will never hear of again. And that's probably all you get from Marte. But I do think someone will trade for him, kind of like the Royals traded for Josh Willingham. Though, wasn't it Jason Adam they traded for Josh Willingham?
I think so. Yeah.
So he did show up again. So it does occasionally, those guys do show up again. It's just unlikely.
Yeah, that it is. That it is. So the dark horse that I'm kind of gonna settle on. This is tough. I'm gonna say Lugo.
Yeah.
I gotta bring up Seth Lugo. This is we talk about recent performance. Seth Lugo has looked a lot better, and the reality is, I don't think how to word this. He's been in the bullpen for most of his career. I think that if a team approached him and said, "Hey, we need you to be our swing man," like that's what we're trading for in you is for you to be our swing man and to really just kind of lock down our supporting cast for the postseason push. I'd be fine with that. I really would. And I think MLB trade rumors, that a very good website, a lot like, really, if you're looking for a one-stop shop on stuff, MLB trade rumors is a good way to go. They put out their top 50 list, and Seth Lugo came in one spot behind Michael Wacha. Like, he's looking better. I'm not saying he's looking in his 2024 form, but he's certainly looking better than he did last season. And I think that version of Seth Lugo can help out an ailing rotation down the stretch and then shift into the bullpen once you go to a three-man rotation in October baseball. But that's kind of my dark horse. Jeremy,
Yeah, that
anything
makes
else on
sense.
this stuff?
I think he has value. I think the Royals should trade him. I think the Royals should trade Lugo for whatever they can get, because don't think that I think he's going to be bad next year. I
Think so?
think that we've seen Seth Lugo kind of really diminishing this year, and I am really worried that he's going to look really, really bad next year.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is, I think that he'll still look, I think he will fully slide into that innings eater role. If you, Jeremy, this is bad. This is bad enough to where I have to share my screen with you on this.
All right, let's go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Seth
No,
Lugo.
I pulled up a graphic. The funny thing is I pulled up a graphic. The Baseball Savant has the new player comparison that I think we were going to talk about and never did talk about,
We
which
did.
is so cool because you can compare. One of the things that's cool about it is you compare guys from past years. You can compare guys across years. So I grabbed Seth Lugo and Michael Walker from 2023 and compared them to a bunch of guys from this year to be like, listen, these guys, they got a lot of blue here, but not more than Walker and Lugo had in 23. Well, yeah, Lugo's still got blue. So he's still not good. He's kind of gotten a little lucky. Yeah, you've got him even more blue now than he ever has been.
Yeah.
So
It's a tough spot to be in for the Royals. It really is. You paid this guy, you know?
yeah, and it was, again, I think someone wrote an article in Royals Review that was like, you need to learn from Seth Lugo last year and trade Michael Wacha this year. You signed Seth Lugo to an extension instead of trading him, and it's not going well, and it's gonna go worse.
Right.
By the way,
Well,
I
I think
pulled up
if I go and look at the
baseball
payroll,
trade values, and I set up the deal Bobby Witt Jr. for Arias, Tole, Anson, and Anthony, and that would be an underpay by the Red Sox. So I had to add Willie Abreu in there, and that's still not quite there.
dang.
Maybe Marcelo Meyer, and I don't know. There's a bunch of guys here that you could look at and just kind of add in there. Maybe Kyson Witherspoon, last year's first round pick. If Bobby Witt gets traded, the Royals are going to have so many good players. And I know your argument about the Nationals aren't good in part because they traded Juan Soto, but they have James Wood this year, who
Yeah,
is
they do.
pretty dang close to Juan Soto,
Mhm.
and they're not competing. So Juan Soto doesn't fix this team, is my point. And you losing Bobby Witt Jr. is a huge blow. And if Franklin Arias doesn't turn out to be 80% of Bobby Witt Jr., and even in AAA, as a top rated prospect, he could fail, then you're in big trouble. But yeah, I think if they traded Bobby Witt Jr., I think we would all be upset, but then we'd all be excited about all the new players we got to watch.
Well, yeah, because all cards on the table, like, that would, what else could we do at that point? We could be mad, or we could accept it.
We could
And
change alliances, could make this Rockies review or Rockies rundown.
Jiminy Christmas. Don't even. Don't even.
We could become the White Sox witnesses.
White Sox witnesses. That would be
White
crazy.
Sox Witness Protection Program.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the Royals do at the trade deadline. And I think that one thing that's, fueling the Royals right now is the fact, like, hey, we talked about, you could make a pitching staff of our injured list. Shoot, how deep in a rotation could you go, or in a lineup could you go off of our injured list? And I bring that up because I want to talk about some of the injury updates that we've gotten over the past few days. Bobby Wood Jr. is still on the IL. He's ramping up baseball activity in Kansas City and will do one more day of work on the 30th, which is today, before the team decides whether he will join the club in Denver on July 31st when he's eligible to come off the IL. So we'll see what's going on there. One guy who's back on the IL, Vinny Pasquantino. I think that we are going to be talking about him a lot after the trade deadline. He exited in the ninth inning of July 28th, and he's been dealing with right wrist soreness. And apparently he's been managing general fatigue as he has returned from right hamate surgery earlier in June. He's going to be evaluated back in Kansas City.
Hey, Vinny, I'm right there with you. General fatigue, that you could, if I was in the Army, that would be that's what they'd call me, general fatigue.
General fatigue. That was a good one. That was a good one.
It would
Michael
have been
Garcia.
better if I could have spoken, but
It landed. Don't you worry. Michael Garcia, still on the IL. Began his rehab assignment on the 28th, but experienced a setback in the final at-bat of the night with similar pain symptoms in his left hand. Hasn't played since and is going to be reevaluated further over the next couple of days. Kyle Isbell had a really good performance on the 29th, who went 3 for 4 with a strikeout and an RBI for Omaha. He's got 22 ABs to his name. It looks like he's ready to come off whenever the Royals are ready to have him rejoin the team.
I was going to say, I wonder if they're just waiting until the Lane Thomas trade to call him up.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Well, except that John Rave's on the team, and you could have recalled Kyle Isbell instead of John Rave.
Could have.
I don't know what they're doing there. Nothing they do with injuries makes sense to me.
Yep. And when they have so many of them, we're always talking about it. Beck Way, another person who's fallen ill to the low back spasms and tightness. He was the opener for that July 24th outing ahead of Noah Cameron and hadn't improved by like 4 days later, so they put him on the IL. They are waiting for symptoms to subside before throwing again. That was updated on the 28th. Chris Bubich, he is throwing 80 feet away this week. Whoop, whoop. Still not doing a bullpen, still not on a mound.
So far.
It is so far.
80 feet. That's more than 60 feet, 6 inches, Jacob.
It is. It is. But it's still not on a mound, and it's still not a bullpen. Nick Mears. So he had his setback back on July 6th. The July 10th scan showed a right lat strain, but he did begin throwing this week at 60 feet. Speaking of, we're talking a lot about feet. I'm talking about a distance, not the things at the bottom of your legs, because Carlos Estevez has actually began his throwing program and is up to 105 feet of throwing as of this week.
How many feet do you throw before you get to pitch again?
I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe whatever, like how many innings you have in your career. Maybe that's how far. Like you got to throw it over a mountain or something if you're a veteran.
I have to break into this report to tell you that John Rave just doubled off of Bailey Ober, and Jack Caglione launched a home run to right center. So things are. I'm here. I'm going to drop another hot potato for you, Jacob.
You're going to drop a hot one for us.
Drop a hot one right on your chest, bud.
Whoa, easy.
According to Trenton Kraxner, that one went 840 feet. And we're over here recording instead of watching that. I saw just like the animation in the game day thing. You know how game day has the little animations now? It looked like it went a long ways.
Yeah?
I can't wait to watch that replay. But yeah, I think John Rave is actually a competent big league outfielder now. I think switching to the toe tap has made him a hitter.
Okay.
That's my hot one. Right on your chest.
Go. Right on the chest. Well, Gavin Cross did something similar in the middle of the season. Look at what he's doing.
Yeah, he added a toe tap. Toe taps, everybody. Boom. Taps. Everybody toe taps. Everybody get your tap shoes on, and let's become baseball players.
Jack Caglione, bat speed of 86.4 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that was physically possible.
I didn't know it was either.
That's faster than some guys' fastballs.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Yes, it is. I think it's faster than Seth Lugo's fastball in the year 2026. 113.7 miles per hour off the bat, and it traveled 438.
I think they underestimate his home runs. I really do.
You think so?
I really do.
Oh, it's all about
I
math.
think they must be measuring to where the ball lands instead of how far it would have gone if there wasn't a stands in the way, because I think that thing would have gone forever.
Forever. Try to Baseball Savant has a nice little like, hey, if you tell me what the exit velocity is and the launch angle, I'll tell you how far it went. So let's go to 113, go 31. It'll show me all of these balls that were hit. They're all home runs, of course. So you're not giving me what I want, Baseball Savant. Goodness gracious. But I digress. It went a long ways. Royals are up on the board. I'll take it, baby.
Noah
All right.
Cameron's got 2 shutout innings, 2 perfect innings.
Don't curse it. Don't curse it yet.
I have cursed it. It's too late. No, wait, I'm
Goodness.
sorry. He had a walk, so 2 hitless innings.
Gasp. Also,
I cursed it in
congratulations.
retrospect.
I think while we were congratulating Salvi on the home run record and all that jazz, I mean, in the year 2026, congratulations, buddy, for getting a triple. Holy shit. Like, man, I'm so proud of you, Salvi.
My social media post yesterday was that if someone had told me in spring training that the Royals would play a game this year where Tyler Tolbert would hit a home run at more than 105 miles per hour, Salvi would hit a triple, and Randy Dobnak would have 7 shutout innings, I would have assumed we were playing 2 truths and a lie, and you were making up weird stats about Randy Dobnak for some reason. Like, I
Yeah,
would have
like,
believed he pitched for the Royals, just not 7 shutout innings.
Exactly.
There was a lot of weirdness yesterday, and the triple was maybe the least weird of those things. He'd done that 11 times before, so
Yeah, that's true.
hasn't hit a triple in a couple of years. And boy, Luke Keeschel,
That was a bad play.
he did not cover himself in glory on that play. Let's just say.
Nope. Speaking of guys who did not cover themselves in glory, congratulations to Max Clark, the sniveling kid from spring training is getting called up to the Detroit Tigers. I cannot stand him. However, I understand he's very talented in baseball.
He's
So
on my fantasy team, so I am required to root for him.
I see. Well, that's your first mistake there, Jeremy. Can you make up for it with a good review today?
I can. So
Okay.
last time I gave you the Guy Ritchie movie I didn't care for. This time I get to give you the Guy Ritchie movie I really enjoyed. I won't say that it's an objectively better movie than Fountain of Youth, but I will say the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was a lot of fun. So it opens with a shot of Henry Cavill in beard and fabulous mustache, and you immediately know. And then shortly after that, there's a shot of Alan Richardson in these ridiculous tiny glasses. And you immediately know I'm watching a Rule of Cool movie. I don't need to concern myself with physics or realities or anything. We're here to do cool stuff because it's cool. So the movie is very loosely based on a real thing that happened in World War II when the British Secret Service stole a tanker and some tugs and drove them out from neutral waters that were controlled by the Germans and drove them out into national water or international waters. Famously, no one was killed in the course of that operation. That is not the case in this movie. Lots of people getting killed. But it was a lot of fun. It was a heist movie that was much more Ocean's 11, which is the kind of heist I prefer, versus the modern heist, which is really just action movie with an objective to steal something. So there's plotting, there's planning, there's twists, there's turns, there's oops, we've definitely screwed up. Oh, see, I had actually planned for this the whole time. All that good stuff. I don't know, man. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I will say that my biggest complaint reminder of Fountain of Youth was the dialogue, and this movie relied a lot less on dialogue and more on let's do a cool visual. And people were just kind of there was a lot of moody staring and thoughtfulness and a lot less talking. So I think that worked to the movie's benefit, probably. If they'd spent too much, they did some quipping, but it was not like 90s Arnold Schwarzenegger quipping. It was not like every other line. So
Gotcha.
it was kind of an understated thing, except when it was completely over the top. And I don't know, like I said, I can't say it's a great movie, but I had a lot of fun watching it, and that's the whole point.
There you go. There you go.
There's a Martin Scorsese, I believe it was, made the argument that MCU movies aren't movies, aren't films, they're amusement park rides, and I think that that's actually an accurate assessment. I don't think MCU movies are films. They're not written to be quality films. They're written to be amusement park rides that you watch in a movie theater. But I also don't think that's bad necessarily. Sometimes it can be bad. I really hated Deadpool versus Wolverine because it felt like an amusement park ride that was just, look at this thing you remember, look at this thing you remember, look at this thing you remember. And I'm like, are are we doing any movie stuff? No? Okay. But yeah, this was kind of an amusement park ride of a movie. I mean, even to the point that you got to the end and they did that classic 80s thing of, this guy went on to do this thing after, this guy went on to do this thing after. One thing I did find was really funny was because I decided to look up the real events of what happened as much as I could after I watched the movie. And like, they made it seem like all these guys did this impressive stuff after the events of the movie. And some of them did. They all also died before the end of World War II. They just left that part out. And I'm like, yeah, I appreciate you leaving that part out. It would have been a real bummer to end this awesome heist movie with, by the way, these guys really good at this for this movie, and they're all dead because they definitely got caught like the next time. So Jacob's review, I'll give you Jacob's review, is on me, and I'm amazing. So thank you, Jacob. That's a great review. We appreciate you sharing that with us. And you know what? Until next time, go Royals!
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.